Hey guys, Geno Zero, how you doing? I hope all is well in YouTube land. Whatever part of the world that you are in our part of the world, our tomatoes are starting to come on in the garden, and we are extremely happy to have our tomatoes. We're getting them in little by little, and we figured we would show you how we're going to can them this year. 90% of the tomatoes that we grow are used for salsa, spaghetti sauce, soup starter, so on and so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our food processor and turn them not quite into puree, not quite into diced, but kind of somewhere in between, just good tomato, and then we are going to can that. So that we want to make salsa, we just empty a jar of tomatoes and make salsa or spaghetti sauce, or we're going to add it to soup or meatloaf or whatever it is that we're using the tomatoes for. This is how we're going to do a lot of our tomatoes this year. Sometimes we do whole tomatoes, sometimes we do tomato juice, but like I said, a lot of the tomatoes we use are used for sauces of some sort. So this is what we're going to do. We're just going to take a tomato. I love tomatoes that taste like tomatoes, man. And I'm going to just cut it in half, turn it upside down. I am not a big fan of the little core piece here, so I cut them out. And we're going to just take the halves, skin and all. I'm leaving the skin on. There's going to be people who hate on me for leaving the skin on, but that's okay. I like the skin. I like the skin. The skin adds some flavor, and I think it's got some nutrients in it, and I like the skin, so I'm leaving the skin on. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut up a couple of our tomatoes, and we're going to put them in the food processor, and when I get ready to zip them up, then I will show you. So first step, plant and grow tomatoes. Second step, harvest the aforementioned tomatoes, and we are just cutting ours in half. So if you don't have a food processor, you can give your blender a try. Even your stand mixer would probably, with certain attachments, would probably, ooh, that's got a bad spot on it, work. The blender or anything, that'll just kind of chop them up and grind them up. So anyway, we're going to get this thing here full, and then I'll show you when I get ready to zip them. Okay, we got our food processor here with the large bowl on, and it is almost full of tomatoes. We put on our lid, and we're going to pulse it a few times to get to the consistency that we want. I'd say that about right there is about what we're looking for. Not a puree, not diced, just a nice tomato. Ooh, man, they smell really good. So now we're going to get our jars and our handy dandy funnel here. Get another jar. And we're going to start putting these into our quart jars. About like that. I take them all the way up to the threads because they will cook down. And we're going to do some more to finish this jar here off. Set this aside so you can see. So now, to this jar, since it's full, we are going to add, I'm just going to put a half a teaspoon of salt in these. And I'm not using iodized, I'm just using regular salt. The iodized salt, sometimes when your jars sit, the iodine in the salt will turn it a rusty color. It doesn't mean it's bad, it doesn't do anything bad to it, it just makes it look like, ooh, you know, because it's all, ooh. So, alright, we got the tomatoes in the jar, we got the salt in the jar, we got our lids over here simmering on the stove so that we can get a good seal. Somebody had asked why we simmer the lids. Your canning jar lids are going to have this little rubber gasket, and once this is warm, it helps it mold to the top of the jar a lot better when it's warm. I don't do this when I'm pressure canning, because pressure canning inside the canner gets extremely hot, and I have never ever had any fail. But when we're just water bath canning, I always simmer my lids. And we always run our jars and our rings and everything through the dishwasher to sterilize them on the hot setting, the sterilized setting. And now we take our jar. Notice I did wipe the ring there too, by the way. And we just put it into our canner. A lot of times we'll do this outside. But we can't do it outside today because we got a lot of things going on that are inside the house, and we got a bunch of running we got to do, stuff like that. So we're just going to do it and get it over with inside the house. It's not that hot out today. We're having some good weather. So, all right, now we're just going to continue doing this until we run out of tomatoes, and we'll fill the canner up. And before we start the actual canning process, we'll get back with you. So I'll see you here directly. Okay, guys, we ended up this batch with 5 quarts in our canner. This is something that we do every 2 or 3 days. We'll pick a few tomatoes, we'll pick some more tomatoes tomorrow, and the next day when we get enough to run a batch, we'll run a batch through. When you're water bath canning, you're going to make sure you leave about an inch or an inch and a half or 2 inches of water, however tall your canner is, above the top of the jar. That's how the water bath canning works. And then I just use my regular pressure canner, and I put my lid on, but I don't put it on tight. I just set it on there, and that helps the water boil a little bit faster. And we're going to let these boil and can for about 35, maybe 40 minutes. And then once they're done canning after our 35 minutes, we just turn them off and just walk away, let them cool for a while until we pull them out. But we'll get to that in a little bit. And like I say, sometimes normally we do this outside, whether you have a propane, turkey cooker burner thing, or a rocket stove, or I'm even going to try to do some in my sun oven, because as long as the water gets hot enough to boil, it'll can. And the water don't care where the heat comes from as long as it gets hot. So we're going to even try a couple experiments here some point this summer with our sun oven. But normally we use our rocket stoves, and we've made videos about that in the past as far as canning stuff outside. But we've got a bunch of other stuff going on, peppers, and we got summertime's here, peppers and blackberries and corn on the cob and all kind of crap. So we're in the house. So anyway, 35 minutes. We'll get you guys in. Okay, guys, we are at it's been about 38 minutes actually, and you see how we have the lid loose. But now we're just going to turn off our burner, and we're just going to walk away from this right now because we're not going to do any more canning, and we're going to let this cool a little bit before we start getting our jars out. So turn it off, walk away. Okay, guys, these have been cooling for a little while now, so we're going to take the lid off. Always remember, even when you think it's cool, still, when you open up the lid, open it away from you, because there's going to be some steam in there. And I'm not admitting anything, but steam burns really suck. So we're just going to take our handy dandy jar lifters now. We're going to start pulling our jars out. We're going to set them on a towel on the counter. You don't want to set them directly on your counter. That's going to take a chance on cracking the bottom of your jars. And as you can see, the tomatoes have cooked a little bit, have cooked down a little bit, and we've got the separation of the oils and stuff here at the bottom and the chunks of tomato at the top. That is not a big deal. Once the jars cool down a little bit, we're going to shake them right up and mix it all back together before we store them. So all we're doing now is we're going to pull our jars out, and we're going to wait to hear that bing that everybody loves to hear when you're canning, which means the jars are sealed. The top of the lid will go, well, I can't make them do it like that right there. You'll hear that popping sound. So we're going to wait until they cool off enough where we can handle the jars. It's still going to be a little warm, but not scorching hot. We want it to be just a little bit warm when we shake it to remix everything before we store it. If you shake it and mix it all the way back, I'm not a cannerologist, I'm not an expert, I'm just a dude, but I have found in my experiences when I mix them back together while they're still warm, they stay mixed up and they don't re-separate on the shelf. So once it gets to the point to where I can handle these jars, then we'll shake them up and I'll show you how to remix it. Okay, guys, these are still a little bit warm to the touch, so now we're just going to mix them back and forth. You want to mix them kind of vigorously to mix them all up. Well, not quite that bad, but you see they just go right back together and mix up. Mix it all up like this. Then we pick our hat up off the floor. And we have our tomatoes that are technically cooked and ready to go. All we're going to do now is label them and put them on the pantry, and they will be there for us to use whenever, for whatever we choose. And they'll last a good long while on the shelf. They never last more than a year for us because we go through them pretty quick. And this is what we do with our tomatoes in the summertime. And some of them, will dehydrate, but most of them will get canned up with this. So, hope this helps. Joking. Hope this helps y'all. This is how we do some of our tomatoes. We've done tomatoes in the past. We've got several other canning videos that you can check out. And I'm not sure what else to say. So You guys, thank you very much for watching. Y'all have a great rest of the day. God bless. The end.
Buzz, buzz, the end.